Ahoy, me mateys, and welcome to Volume 54 of the One Piece Virgin Eggheads Book Club podcast, covering chapters 523 to 532 of One Piece. We are in my favorite arc, Impel Down. Eggy V. Rodriguez, my co-captain of the Thousand Virgins, let me say, welcome to Oda's Inferno! Oh! We made it. What do you think so far, Eggy? What is the top of the mind?
Well, you know, there's really a lot to think of here, but I think I know exactly what I'm going to have to say because it's what we've been waiting for oh so long. In fact, probably very close to an entire year.
Oh my God, what could it be? The return of a certain man?
Return of half of one man and half of the same man on the other side that pops together. But no, it's even more than that. You see, once upon a time, it was probably a handful of volumes in, but we once had a conversation on this very podcast, and we both said, hey, characters sure say ack a lot, and that's something I like to, it's just like, that's my excited or like surprise noise that I make, because I make a lot of noises and a lot of freakish things come out of my body in many ways.
Now, did your love of ack originate from its usage in some transphobic comics, or did you love ack even before that? Because it's, you know, used in One Piece surely long before those comics existed, so...
Well, it's funny, I actually just had a conversation with somebody about this recently, but it kind of stems back. The earliest I could really remember is maybe about like 15 years ago, there was something called Rage Face, where it's like this crude face with like the eyes are going up and it's got like angry eyebrows.
Is he saying fuck?
Yeah. So when I was in like that, I was in high school around that time, college around that time. So my go-to for many, many years when I would get like... something surprising or like whoa, whatever, you know, or unfortunate, whatever it might be, my response would always be fuck.
Yeah.
So that's what
did the adults in your life appreciate you saying half of a bad word?
Well, it did help that this was maybe like from the age of 17 onwards, so
okay.
At that point, you know, I mostly surrounded myself with my fellow autistic adults, and we would do like the troll face at each other in real life and talk about Forever Alone Frog and all this different stuff. So,
do you cuss in front of your parents?
No.
I think starting from as soon as I moved out and didn't live with them, I just let loose because that's how I talk to them the way I talk to anybody else. So, I'm frequently just dropping, you know, fucks and bitches and shits and saying nasty shit in front of them, making my mom get upset, but like in a funny way. Is that a white people thing? Am I overthinking this?
I curse like a sailor, but you see, maybe it goes back for me. One time when I was probably about like 11 or so years old, I said this. I don't know this. I guess it's a really terrible word to say, but you know, you can take this how you want to take it. I uttered the word cunt.
I think I said that a few times during our reading of the smut.
Yeah. I thought it just meant like jerk or something like that, but my mother, I think she lifted me up like 2 feet off the ground by my collar, and that was hard because I'm like what, like probably 5'10" or 5'11" or something, and I was
Big
like
boy.
5 foot. I was like 5'8" when I was 11. I went through growth spurts, and my mother's
11-year-old Aggie was mogging me. Could you imagine?
I was my grandfather was a basketball player. He played basketball, and I was a basketball prospect, but it's probably because I drank too much coffee, and then I just didn't grow any further. I'd probably been like 6'5". But
wait, really this is to blame for everything I am? I shouldn't have been drinking this shit every day? God damn it.
They told me when I was a kid, they said if you drink coffee, it'll make you stop growing. I don't know what's the deal with that. It's probably not true.
I hope it's not true, because I was drinking it when I was 12 and Grandma was taking me to church with her, and you could just get coffee and pour in a shitload of sugar and make it good as fuck. That might have actually stunted my growth if it's not an old wives' tale.
That was the hack. Yeah, when you were 12, so that was 2007. That was like prime 4chan years. That was when we were doing like all the most epic rating Tom Green and all, doing barrel rolls. So that was like the prime time. That was when I got my first job. Yeah, and I spent all my money on Sobe No Fear, which was an energy drink at the time that came in a can with a skull on it.
How many tangents do we have to unravel to get back to your top of mind? I don't even remember how we got here.
It goes back to the return of Buggy, because yes, he is running from the Blue Gories. I think it's Blue Gory.
The Blue Gorillas.
Yes. He's running from them at the same time that Luffy is sneaking in, and he ends up kind of coming together with Buggy. He just happened to chop in a vertical manner. He regains his composure into a full being, and he turns to the side, and his eyes bulge out, and he goes, "Strong!"
And
So
your mic, we could hear you, but it was very like staticky and fucked up with your axe, Straw Hat. So it does not like your Buggy impression.
So Buggy the Clown, once he reappears in his full, complete being, he turns to his side and exhibits an ocular expulsion towards Luffy, at which point he proclaims, "Ack, Straw Hat."
Ack!
Yeah.
Did you watch the trailer that just released for live action One Piece Season 2?
I did. Shout out to a friend of the program, Hardsy Protsy. He put it right in my face ASAP as soon as it was out there. And yeah, I have to say, I don't know who that African American woman was at the end with like the yo-yo. Must be forgetting something there, but at the same time, everybody else was immediately recognizable to me, and it actually looked, I felt like, better than what I thought I felt watching the original season of the live action.
You're not confusing Vivi for being African American, are you? Because she looked very dark for an Indian in this trailer. I almost thought she looked black.
That's probably true, yes.
Which she should not be fucking Indian to begin with, but if Oda signed off on it, I'll believe it. Evidently, Matt Owens, not Jesse Owens, the famous black Olympics runner who impressed Hitler, that I racistly called this man Jesse Owens for so long. No, Matt Owens, fellow black man who was the showrunner for this. I guess he's been fired. He dropped out, and he's not coming back for season 3. So maybe he was very vocal fighting for racial purity of the characters, and that caused, he was a stick in the mud. Who could say? Maybe the pressure got to him. He realized this is dog shit, and they're adapting it wrong, and he quit. Anything's possible, but I didn't care for his choices anyway, so maybe seasons 2 and 3 will be better.
Well, if Luffy's Brazilian pilled and Vivi's Indian pilled, I think I could, OTP still on the table. I think I've seen some beautiful Indian women down in South America, and I ain't touched talking about the ones with the face paint. I can say that because I got that in me. So anyway,
I agree that there are many beautiful Indian women, but when her last name is Nefeltari, is this not a direct, like, from Egyptian history? A direct, like, come on, man, you're gonna move it that many countries over?
If on a map they're like parallel on latitude, right? Or is that longitude? I forget.
Who gives a shit? That doesn't matter. I'm sure we're on the same latitude as some bullshit state. I don't agree with them. I don't want to be represented by them in One Piece. But
that's fair.
But you say the return of Buggy, which is why I praised Logetown so much and gave it probably too high. Now, since you changed your tier list last week, I'm reevaluating. Maybe Logetown should be the king of B tier instead of the baby of A tier. I don't know. Maybe when we get to time skip, we will do a full episode of reevaluating our tier list. But I'm surprised you say top of mind is the return of Buggy when obviously the much better returning character is Bon Clay Mr. 2, Eggy. Were you expecting this man to be a main character?
Well, let me just do one real quick little thing real quicker. So, I believe I said last week, I was like, well, as far as predictions went, we didn't have any of the other crew around, but I also found it to be very unlikely that Luffy was going to get into Impel Down and just do total Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell, super stealth all the way from top to bottom. I was like, that just seems very unlikely to me, so there's got to be something. And, Hancock, probably not going to be some super combat partner here either, so I figured there's something was going to happen. But this actually was not at all what I expected. Maybe I should have, on account of the fact that we already had a cover story in which Baroque Works members were being brought to Impel Down to begin with, so it was like obviously already established. But that was not at all what I was expecting, and I mean, it was a very pleasant surprise because it's like a a nice warm home cooked meal, like after you've been out working on the railroad for 6 months or whatever, or you're a trucker, you're doing long haul trucking in Alaska. You've been on all this crazy stuff. You've gone so far, you've done so much, but that element of your past is still there, and it can show back up for you, and it brings a warmth, a comfort, and nostalgia. That is what Buggy, primarily just because he was a man from that element that I mentioned. I feel like it's amplified even more so beyond the Baroque Works members, because that was a grand line situation already for the Baroque Works at Whiskey Peak and everything. So for me to have Buggy back from the very beginning, that orange town, it's still probably way too high up on there, but we'll never forget. At least I just it's you never forget your first time, folks. That's all I'm saying. So Buggy, that's what put him on a little bit more of a higher level for me. And he's still got it. He's still bringing all the bugginess to the table that I loved and enjoyed from the very beginning, clowning around, but at the same time very serious, still about that life and that action. So, but I do, Mr. Bon Clay, and he mentions a little somebody that I think I might have possibly culturally osmosed a smidge. Mr. 3, you know what? He's bringing his utilities to the table. They're very welcome to have them here, and I do appreciate them very much. But if I was going to line them up and say who's my top of mind out of all of these returns, it's still going to be Buggy.
That's completely fair. Buggy has this might be hyperbole, as correct people would say. But perhaps my favorite panel, or two panels of all time in One Piece, are here in this volume when Buggy is asking Luffy, don't you remember my buggy balls that destroyed the city? And Luffy says no. And then there's just one tiny sliver of a panel of Buggy looking sad. Like, that gets me more than any other joke in One Piece, and I don't know why. Just the sad clown who is thinking to himself, I wanted to impress Luffy, and he didn't even remember all this horrible shit I did. So I agree with you. I'm very happy Buggy's here. Mr. 3, it sounds like you were sort of on the fence. I'm in the same camp. Like, I was not wild that he's joining the campaign party here. But I guess if it's people that Luffy beat the shit out of having to join him in prison, I guess that's a fun idea. Do you think we will make it to Crocodile and he will also join the party, or is he going to be more of, fuck Straw Hat, I'm getting revenge?
Yeah, I feel like Crocodile, he's at kind of like another level of notoriety, another level of deviousness compared to everybody else so far. I mean, they're all pirates. They all play their role. They all fought Luffy. They could have, seriously harmed him or done something to him, depending on what their power was at the time when they had their combat and their encounters. But I don't know. Crocodile, it's possible, I suppose. I mean, I guess everybody wants to get out if they're breaking people out. Maybe he could have some element to him on account of the fact that he was removed of his warlord position for his defeat, which Moria, for some reason, was not. He's back here at the meeting of the minds, the warlord meeting. Just got a nice bandage on him, and
I think it's because of public perception, where publicly Crocodile was exposed as a fraud, and the people of Alabasta knew he was a criminal. Whereas Moria, that happened in the Florian Triangle, and as we all know, what happens in Florian's mind stays in Florian's mind. No new games in decades. I'm just saying, folks. No, that's unfair. That's unfair. Ballfrog came out 6 years ago.
That's right.
And it's excellent.
And there's a character in Binding of Isaac named Eggy, even though that was put into the game like in 2011, so there's no way that could have been ever
It was put in by the Edmund Triangle. I hope people appreciate that we've given an official term to this thing that, as far as I can tell, has no name in One Piece. Oda never bothered.
And I certainly have not picked up on any, cultural slang terms for it or anything so far. So I think we were the first, perhaps, to really settle on one. So,
well, speaking of culture, let's go back to that cultural osmosis. You hinted, Mr. 2, he's looking for a miracle man, and you suspect you know something about him. I think he even reveals who it is. But what do you know about this mystery man?
Well, funny enough, you might be thinking, perhaps, that it would be from the One Piece fighting game Burning Blood,
Absolutely,
where I
yeah.
probably rolled over his character. But this, I believe in the game he's Ivan, and I think in the reading here he was said Iva, so maybe it's like a pronoun thing or some like honorifics or whatever.
It's a full name of Ivankov, so Ivan and Eva are both nicknames for him.
Yes, this character, definitely, I've seen this character used in memes and things before, like in the past. There's none that were probably big enough. Maybe it was a sort of a certain period of time in the very early 2010s before this was considered a bit of a faux pas, maybe to be used as a meme. I don't know the character's story or anything really besides the imagery of the character, but I definitely had seen this character before, didn't know a name put to it or anything like that, and I think the name I was able to grasp from scrolling over that character in the Burning Blood game without using that character. But definitely, I'm not gonna. But even before we got to the point in this volume where Mr. Bon Clay refers to Iva, we get in the very first chapter, Iva's homeland is where Sanji gets the touchdown at. And
is there any
the second
nickname
island
for
of
this
River-
island that might spring to mind that perhaps I teased you about dozens of volumes ago?
Maybe something like the male to female trans island, perhaps.
Yeah, I did call it transgender island, but I guess they're more cross-dressers, which is distinctly different to some degree.
Well, if I were to,
but they have the hearts of women, which I think is very much a trans thing. Even though from the one panel we can see them, they have stubble and look like men, but they have the hearts of women, so that's why I think they're trans.
I'm going to issue a fact check here. So there's just two descripting panels. I'm going to quote here. The first one is this is the famous second island of women, and they all have the hearts of maidens, which, as I understand, is like a virgin, unwed woman.
These are some horny maidens because they want that Sanji cock.
Which makes it, because I think there could definitely be a through line here that these are all just very, perhaps not traditionally attractive people, and maybe that's why they're all female virgins. You know, kind of like the flip of the coin. You know, on the Amazon Lily, they're all like these Amazonian warriors who, they kill all the men if they ever show up because get away from me. Versus, maybe these are the chicks that are looking for the men, but they're all looking. They look like Duke Nukem with a 5 o'clock shadow and maybe a little extra stubble on top of that.
So you're saying that there's no transphobia at all? These are just straight up ugly women.
Well, I'll also refer to, just because I opened it for the direct quotation here in this same panel that says this is the famous second of women. There's a lion and what appears to be like a mouse that have like long, girly hair and then also stubble. I think this hippopotamus or whatever this is has like a mustache.
The animals.
Then I have to question, because Iva is directly referenced by Mr. Bon Clay as being a drag queen. So this is a man who is one of
yeah.
I mean,
they're cross-dressers.
As we understand it, this is a man whose profession is to beautify themselves as much as possible in a female way, to present themselves in that way. So it seems like something's not maybe quite connecting here, unless Iva just does that and it's totally different from everything else going on the island. Because why are lions having a 5 o'clock shadow and like pigtails? Like something's a little strange here, but
so what would be the solution to this? Like, if something is strange in a foot, is there like a magical devil fruit power that would make this make sense?
I think the only way to really know for sure is to become romantically involved with the woman of the island and see what's going on, So
if these are, my problem is Sanji, as far as I can tell, loves all women. So if these are, pussy having women, wouldn't he be going to town? Or is he that shallow that, you got some stubble, I guess I don't want your delicious maiden pussy? Is that the Sanji you know and love?
It is not, but, at the same time, what I could say, if I wanted to make sense of it, probably I'm going on the wrong path here. But what I could say is he spent a lot of time around Nami, Nico Robin, all kinds of...
the hottest chicks in the world, so yeah. He's not going to lower his standards at this point. I can see he can't even get it up for these women. My top of mind, I guess it was Mr. 2 if yours was Buggy. So before we go through the fates of all of the Straw Hats, now that we've started with Sanji, we do have 2 new members of the Measly Crew that anybody can join by becoming a member of the Mumkey D. Jones YouTube channel. You're getting episodes basically 3 or 4 weeks in advance now. Go ahead, Eggy.
Well, I guess I just want to mention this real quick. For anybody, if you need a little sweetening of the deal, I'm not traditionally a heavy Discord user, so I haven't been too often in the Measly Crew Discord, although I have said if you want to add me or direct message me, I'm in there for that purpose, certainly. But now that we've got further enough in the story, I got introduced by Mr. Heartsy Protsy to a One Piece game called Unlimited Adventure. Seems interesting so far. There's like strange jewels that could blow up rocks, and it's an interesting concept. In order to help promote my presence in the channel, I am going to be doing a playthrough of this game and kind of like just doing like a cataloging of the game as I go along. So I don't know if we have like a streaming something in that server or not, but it's possible. I could maybe even broadcast some gameplay in there at some point. I'm not going to promise that yet, but at least I'm increasing my presence there. So just a little something for those prospective members. If you're on the fence about it, let's come chat about old video games. It's my favorite thing to do.
And 2 such members are the newly joined Joram, Joram. What should his position on the crew be, Eggy? And we were informed in the comments that we now have 2 bartenders and 2 tobacco specialists. So, which makes sense to me, because imagine having 1 bartender with like our 80 crew members. It'd be chaos. So, if anything, we could have a 3rd bartender, but maybe Joram deserves something more unique.
When I think of Joram, I think of Egoram. So I'm thinking of like somebody who's in like a secretarial kind of role, perhaps. Like for somebody who's I don't know if we really have anybody that's office specialized. You might not think we need it as pirates, and that would be a fair assumption. But at the same time, we are on the up and up. There's a lot going on, and maybe somebody to kind of help streamline a bit of those more managerial sorts of duties, kind of help keep us in order, keep us organized. I don't know about the rest of you. I mean, I am your vice captain, but if I didn't have my whiteboard on my fridge, I wouldn't even know what year it is sometimes. So maybe Joe Ram, you could be like our Ego Ram. He's gonna kind of be our vector between the crew mass and maybe us higher rankers. Just a thought.
Okay. But what about, and this will be a tough one, Eggy, a bunch of random, right when my phone goes black, a bunch of random letters, numbers, and symbols. That's his name.
Really?
Yes, no, spelled out. A bunch of random letters, numbers, and symbols. It's not like me describing it. I'm literally reading it.
Okay. Well, I'm immediately mentally going to somebody who's got a grand ability to translate, decipher, like...
the poneglyph decoder?
He presents himself, what I use, Grok. I use him to do like a X64 decoding or something like that. It's how I'm using... It's what I'm part of the tactics that we're using to... manipulate banking promotions, where we're able to like get a bunch of extra money from certain purchases on credit cards and bank deposits and things like that. So we need somebody that's the decoding is going to help us get the treasure. I'm doing it in real life right now, so I don't know what a decoder would be in pirate times, but that's going to be my first thought of what to assign.
It makes sense to me. I'm sure there's some sort of Morse code or whatever the fuck they used to beep, 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 beep. So he could do that. He can decode the poneglyphs if we see one, I'm sure. We already have one of those on the crew, but he could be his assistant if we do. Eggy, did we come to the end of this CP9 cover story? Since they started showing a bunch of just random straw hats hanging out with animals again, does that mean this story's over?
Yes, and I have to say it was a little bit heartbreaking in its own special way for me.
Let's hear about it.
Because my great friend, the man who he's been sticking with me, I double checked. I think for 10 volumes, it was about 10 volumes ago, I believe, that he made his appearance. He's described and named on the One Piece wiki as very good. But I knew him as the Afro Ball Man from Enies Lobby.
Oh, his name is very good. I didn't know that.
The one thing about the One Piece wiki, if I happen to like go reference something about a previous chapter in that, is that the actual manga which I read is often presenting slightly different translations. So I don't know if the wiki goes off of like 4Kids or Funimation or whatever, wherever they're getting their translations from. There's typically some differences. But I went back just for this instance, and I did reread the chapters in which this man is a part of during the siege on Enies Lobby, the Buster Call. And I don't believe the official material at that point provides any identification for this man. And so maybe it's off of... I just happened to get that information from the wiki. I don't know if they said in his wiki page. They probably do if he was in like a data book or something, but I didn't clarify that much. I just needed to know what his name was so I could properly grieve him, because in this volume we have the final chapter of the CP9 cover story, and it's just like his body split into all the balls and left next to like a flowering plant. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good indication of his health, perhaps.
I think he probably had it coming. He was attacking the Straw Hats in their most dire moment. I hope all those vice admirals get separated into balls by Rob Lucci. That's fine by me. I did not remember this. Spandam reunites with his father, Spandine, from the fucking flashback, and they're planning together to kill all of these lost CP9 members. I did not remember at all that Spandine was still around, so that was, a little shock to me.
Spandam in this final bits of the cover story here, he's looking like something that should have been on Thriller Bark. He's looking absolutely freakish, and
an elderly man with gravest injuries, or whatever the guy kept saying to Luffy.
So when everybody else gets beat up, they have like hash marks and like shadowing on them, maybe a little bit of like blood. He is like completely beaten into total disfigurement here, it seems like, and he was already not doing too well to begin with.
Yeah, and it's funny that like in this time, Rob Lucci has fully recovered from being beaten by Luffy, but Spandam, who got a much lesser attack, is like still as bad as the moment it happened. He's very slow at recovering. I guess that speaks to your inner spirit, perhaps.
Yeah, he definitely he's a wretched person, and then this really just cements it, because obviously CP9, they got beat down, they got back up, they dusted off, they beat the Candy Pirates, they beat the Marines that were trying to stop CP10 from training, all that stuff. And the Spandin family is over here just seething and plotting revenge from a hospital bed while you're like a total disfigured mutant. Like, they just can't get the seethe off their minds. And just like my good friend Roald Dahl said, the ugly thoughts, they transform into ugly looks. And Spandam, he's full of ugly hatred for many, many decades. It's warped him into a monster to the point that he's just completely incapable, but he still lays there and seethes all the same.
This volume proved to us that minor villains from arcs and arcs ago can return to the main story. So what are Eggy's predictions for the future of CP9? They're threatening Spandam, we will be back.
Well, I would almost say that, if they're cut off from the government, not fond of pirates either, they should probably, it feels like to me, this would be my first thought, go pick up some like Baroque works, bounty hunter style work perhaps, You got like a clique of mercenaries. You're gonna hunt pirates like what Zoro used to do before he, joined the Straw Hats and all that. And maybe the Warlord v Whitebeard conflict that's on the horizon could present opportunities there, perhaps for them to inject themselves one way or another. Perhaps it could be a forgiveness moment if the world government and their warlord armies are not quite up to the task to take down Whitebeard. And we get a little bit of an inclination in this volume that their preparation might not be what it seems. They might be a little bit more incapable than we first thought, perhaps. And then maybe on the Whitebeard side, it's not usually their forte, but if the government is willing to just exile them completely and say, we're cutting you off 100% because you didn't handle Ennie's lobby how we needed it, strange bedfellows could definitely be in the equation. At least that's what I think. Anyway.
So they could ally really with anybody there. Open for business at this point, no true allegiance. We'll see if and when they ever show up again. And with that, Eggie, is it time to go through the story chronologically a bit? And I this is not a retraction. I still stand by my hatred of Boa Hancock from when she kicked those kittens or whatever. But let me just say, she won me over this time. I don't know who's leaving a baby seal and a little puppy just laying around in the pathway. But the fact that they were there and that she brutally kicked them, that I did fucking chuckle this time. So I might be biased in favor of cats, but I don't know what a baby seal is doing here. That was too good.
Yeah, they're wearing, or they have like little samurai hair or something going on, which I don't know if it's still there when they get kicked, but it seems to me like, so this, I believe, was published, the volume was published, I think in 2009. And I'm trying to think, I feel like the baby seal memes were enough before that I think that Oda could have possibly picked it up from those OG baby seal memes back in the day.
Just the sweetest animal that some people like to beat to death with clubs for no reason.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the exact year that Newgrounds had that controversy, but I was there for it. I feel like it was very early in the 2000s, so it might have even been a distant memory by the time that Oda selected such a creature for this completely grievous display of cruelty on behalf of Hancock's part here. But I caught that reference all the same. And really, I guess it just happens out there in their culture, up in the Inuits or whatever. But shout out to all our Inuit followers. I'm sure you're not doing it. I'm
sure we have a lot of those. So the scheme here, Luffy is going to hide under the cloak of Boa Hancock, not shrink and then go between her titties like we both predicted last time. And what do you think of she frees all of the Marines from their stone statue form? Did you think that they would be saved?
Well, I guess, when she needed to board the ship, and I think that Momonoa or whatever his name is, that was the guy that
Momonga. Yeah.
Momonga. I think he mentioned after she did that to his crew and he was stabbing himself to resist it, and then she continued on to reaching Amazon Land. I think he said something along the lines of, we're going to sit here and wait, or, you'll have this much time. So if it had been a different ship, it probably wouldn't have struck me as like an issue necessarily, but I guess, it all kind of made more sense for it to go the way that it did. I guess we did have the instance of her relieving the petrification from her own subjects in the arena, so we know that she's capable of that. It's not a one-way street with the petrification, thankfully, but I did enjoy, it's a little bit ahead here for me to just mention it, but from this point, we had that pretty consistently in the last volume also, but throughout this volume, her beauty just allowing all of these people who should not be trusting her or having any goodwill towards her, just immediately giving her all the benefit of the doubt was pretty humorous. Like, we were petrified. And
her complete obsession with Luffy and simpery for him, like when he's like loudly burping and saying, "Oh, that was a great meal," and then she has to pretend that she's the one who did that and just be a disgusting freak and order way too much food. I guess in those ways, yeah, she does grow on me. Maybe she's not that bad of a character just because she likes Luffy and we like Luffy. That's her literal only redeemable quality. But it's enough. And maybe I'm sexist because eventually there's like a male version of Boa Hancock who's a despicable person who also likes Luffy. And I love that guy. So again, I might be a piece of shit here. It is what it is. We meet a warlord that we heard about all the way back at the end of Baratier arc, because he's a fishman who perhaps set Arlong free and sent him to go harass Nami. But now we see him in a whole new light. Eggy, do you want to talk about Jinbei?
First son of the sea. That is, I don't really know what that is. I mean, is it because he's part whale? So he's part human and part whale? I mean, whale shark, so I'm not a biologist to know like all the fine points of that, but I would imagine a human whale combo would definitely be a child of the sea in a way that nobody could ever imagine, you know, and however that creation came to be, I'm sure the fishmen did something very not disgusting to make that happen.
But I don't know if one of his ancestors is human.
Well, I just before I touch on him, I wanted to just because in this first chapter we have something that I was alluding to just a little bit before, so I will get to Jinbei in just a moment here. Okay. But speaking on the perhaps less, was as far as where CP9 might have their future. I was saying, they might need to come back to assist the warlord side because they might not be as competent as we suspect. In this first volume here. There's a report about the scout ships that have been watching Whitebeard. All 23 of these ships suddenly just are wiped off communication instantaneously as they're focused on Ace's execution. And this is even before anything going on of breaking into Impel down, any of that. Even if Luffy never showed up, all the scout ships just... Yeah, I don't know. They're just
they sent a whole bunch of extra defense to Impel down just in case somebody came for Ace. So very bad, I guess, timing and bad luck for Luffy. His one man escape show is now going to have as much enemy or as many enemy issues as possible. But hey, if you have Mr. 2 on your side, maybe miracles can happen.
It is certainly a shit show. But with Jinbei, it's interesting that I guess he's in the he's being kept down there as they need him because they need him to go against Whitebeard, but he is not wanting to go against Whitebeard because Whitebeard was the man who basically liberated Fishman Island from the oppressive ways of the great pirate influx. Once the great age of pirates kicked off, everybody had to go by Fishman Island. These fishmen, they're second-class citizens. They're treated as lesser than. They're enslaved. They're sold. They're traded. All these different things. But Whitebeard, he was the man who stepped up. He said, "Hey, this is my island now, and you're gonna have to go through me if you want to be in all this illicit behavior." The government, they just sit there and let it happen. Oh, it's legal. We're just following orders. Who cares? It's the government says it's okay, so that means it's okay. But Whitebeard said no, siree. And
low key, Gold Roger sparking the Great Pirate Era. It might have been a necessary evil for uncovering some sort of ancient history or whatever his scheme here is, but. He's relying on like the 1% of good people pirates who just want to go on an adventure and find a treasure. He inspired 99% horrible bastards who are raping and pillaging, murdering, and everybody has to go through the fucking bottleneck of Fishman Island to go to the New World. It's going to be ravaged by literally every single pirate. So Gold Roger, you might have had good intentions, but you fucked over potentially millions of people.
That's right. And Whitebeard, you can't save them all. And in fact, he is still a pirate, so he's going to be doing his thing. But, the fishmen...
A noble hero to protect the fishmen.
That's right. So, it just makes sense, like, putting yourself in Jinbei's shoes. yeah, here the one out of everybody, the man who was able to give your people everything that they ever needed, never asked for, the relief from this persecution that they were relentlessly subjected to, just the most horrible things. He's the one person who stood up and was able to secure your ability to regain some semblance of a normal life. And now, due to your position and your acumen in combat and everything, you're being pulled up by these government dogs, these string pullers, to say, okay, now you got to go throw yourself and all your people to go fight to the death with the one man who's willing to stand up for you. So he's really like a conscientious objector, to just say, all right, I'm just going to sit down here in the worst prison hell that exists in the entire world, and
they throw me in the cell with the guy that I refuse to fight for, or on behalf of, I guess, to get killed. But the implication of if this war leads to Whitebeard's death, then Fishman Island is going to go back to being a hellhole and be fucked. I like that Oda very simply is setting up global political implications for this war, and it's not just like a cartoon, oh, these characters are fighting. It's, if this guy dies, it's going to have major repercussions for a place that we are planning to travel to soon. So, like, we are probably hoping Whitebeard wins this war.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't have a great depth in our knowledge of Whitebeard, but what do we know about him so far? We know that Ace is one of his top people, and Ace is Luffy's brother. So
if Ace vouches for him, how bad could he be?
And we know that the warlords have repeatedly been horrible enemies that are terrible and want to kill the Straw Hats. So, and I mean, the world government, we went down to Enies Lobby, burned their flag down, we're punching celestial dragons. I mean, there's really, so we're pretty much already entrenched against them. That doesn't necessarily put us in favor of Whitebeard, although that they're going to combat. But Whitebeard's, I think, accolades that we're familiar with at this point are still even so generally positive and generally agreeable as a fellow pirate, and as a very accomplished pirate at that. So,
yeah, I mean, him and Shanks parted the sky with a little bit of a clash, but if you haven't seen an old, rival for a while, maybe you run up and punch him and then have your conversation, which is basically what they do. So, yeah, Whitebeard, he's at least a neutral force compared to the Straw Hats. He's Luffy's rival for Pirate King at the very least, but I don't personally have a reason to dislike him. If he's against the government and he wants to save Ace, I think I'm pro Whitebeard. And I'm realizing this might be a long as fuck episode if we don't speed it up, because we're still on the first chapter, and we have to go through every single Straw Hat's fate now, Eggy. Are you ready for this? We already briefly discussed who did we talk about already?
Talked about Sanji and his beautiful bearded women that are women, by the way, for the record, as far as I could tell.
Okay, we need to figure this out. Is Kuma friend or foe? Because you send Nami, the Weather Witch, to Weatheria, a sky island that can, where she could study the weather better, or something like that, and learn about these funny knots that can make the wind blow. Meanwhile, Nico Robin is sent to Slavery Bridge to be a slave? You piece of shit! I don't care about anything else. You sent my waifu to Slavery Bridge. There's no reason.
It's supposed to be the slavery bridge into my house. It is what it is. But
fucking Slavery Bridge. What is she supposed to do there, Kuma? You motherfucker. Might as well have sent her to the ocean. But which one of these locations, other than Transgender Island, is top of mind of Eggy? And we'll go through them all and get your thoughts. Predictions and all that.
Well, I can't lie. Baltimore, which reminded me of Baltimore, Maryland. It's where they talk in a strange accent that only exists there. That definitely was up there for me, only because Frankie is suddenly just starts he's surveying his surroundings. Like, what the hell's going on here? But he just immediately starts dancing, and all the like Eskimo people just are, even the dog, are all like perfectly in sync with the Frankie dance routine instantly. So, and once again, I mean, Baltimore, they got a good dance scene. Some, I don't know if it's in the Mechanical Island necessarily. It's not Detroit. They didn't have the cars in Baltimore and all that. I don't think, but
yeah, this is called Futureland Baltimore, and as I can tell, Baltimore is more of a past land. I think its best days are behind it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Like Detroit and pretty much all those cities, like, they used to be pretty good for about a decade.
But and then I think, other than Sanji, I think secondarily to that, I really enjoyed when Brooke showed up at this like magical ritual, like
satanic summoning circle. Yeah.
His first thing is that he finds like the woman in the crowd who's most appealing to him and says, I need to see your panties.
He's got his priorities straight.
That's a devilish request.
Okay, so we know Eggy's favorites. I'm going to go through them in the order in my notes, and you just tell me. I guess, what is the plan here? Why are they here? What do we expect them to do to get back, etc.? And we have Nami on a sky island. What do you think of this?
Well, it's going to be very tough. I would like to think, she's already got the weather inclination to begin with. She's there with the Masters of Weather, who the first instance of anything that she's shown is to do with the wind. So maybe just get her a nice big kite or something and, let that wind magic do its work and start flying her back where she needs to go. She don't got no devil fruit or nothing, so she could, swim a little bit if need be.
And if Usopp got a bunch of dials from a sky island to boost his repertoire, why not Nami go to Weatheria and learn some new weather gimmicks or use these knots to blow, bad guys away? Hopefully she'll get some sort of upgrade here. We covered Frankie, Future Island, Baltimore. It says it was created by a genius. Do you have any guesses who this might be?
Well, we obviously know one particular super genius that's out there, and he usually apparently knows stuff that's from the future. So Mr. Vegapunk definitely comes to mind for me. Could be the guy that was manufacturing the moon back in that cover story with Eneru and all that, perhaps. I mean, it's an idea anyway, because when I think about genius mechanical specialists, he's got to be in the equation, I think. But Vegapunk, probably first and foremost, would be my immediate thought.
And Frankie says he won't put on pants because it would ruin his reputation as a freak.
As a freak? That's right.
We've got Bowen Island, where Usopp keeps getting attacked by these creatures, and he's saved by a beetle-wearing man named Hercules.
It sounds like an instance where perhaps that would be a good a bravery booster, maybe. Like if you're pulling up big freakish attacks in immediate survival mode, you got a man named Hercules who's wearing the skin of his enemies, basically the shells of his monster enemies as his own armor. Sounds like a heroic man to me. And Usopp could always use a booster, perhaps. His main ability in Thriller Bark was just being as pessimistic and hopeless as possible, and that's what helped save him. But maybe now that he's out of Thriller Bark, it's time for a little readjustment, get the swagger back in his step, perhaps. Hercules
Oon can be his life coach. Get him that inner motivation and drive going. And then we've also got Chopper. He lands in the Birdie Kingdom, and he's still paralyzed because he went into monster mode, Chopper, right before he got blown away by Kuma. And I guess birds rule this land, and the people look like cavemen. Some Oonga Boonga style people, I guess you could say.
What I thought was interesting is that there's a notation that Birdie Kingdom is referred to as a treasure island, and I think that gets mentioned. I think Treasure Island gets brought up again either in the SBS or some other point in this volume. I didn't remember really ever hearing that sort of distinction before, but I feel like, that I don't know what makes it a treasure island, but maybe that's like a loot box island or something. Like go stop by there and get some good shit, maybe. I don't know.
Does somebody treasure the island, or is there a treasure hidden there that maybe Chopper can find? Who knows? And I think finally, the last one we have not mentioned, Mr. Zoro. he's going to be slapping some cheeks, I believe, because my most beloved waifu, Perona, got sent to the ruins of the Muggy Kingdom, this dark and deserted castle, just like she wanted. So, Kuma, what a bro, actually sent her on vacation to the place she requested, low-key, even though now she's lonely. Not for long, because Mr. Three Sword pops on in. Do we think we're going to have a Perona Zoro baby in 9 months? Danny Phantom, could it be? Half man, half ghost.
Well, I think first off, this is the most evidence, I guess I could say so far, that Kuma wasn't just messing around. Because I don't really know. Like, Luffy, you don't want to go to no Amazon Kingdom. Like, he ain't into that shit. You know, Zoro ain't trying to fight no giant horn beetles or whatever. You know, what Bird Kingdom? What does that have to do with Chopper? But it seemed like, yeah, this is definitely on par for Perona, and
you're saying this is evidence that the destinations he sent them to were intentional and not just kind of randomly blasting.
This particular instance of Perona and Zoro, and I mean, it could track you also, I could say this, with the fact that he spared them with Kuma sparing them at Thriller Bark, with them him having this sort of indeterminate allegiance right now. He's complex. He's a man with layers. He's like Shrek. He's, I think, the same size and body mass as Shrek.
That's right.
He's got layers like Shrek. He's a devout Christian like Shrek. So really, it all adds up.
They're both Buccaneers.
That's right. And it works out well, because even though that Perona, she indicates that it pleases her that Zoro is in horrible condition.
Yes, serves you right.
She goes throughout the troubles of getting him all bandaged up and getting him into a nice place to rest and recover. So,
which is that not the dream waifu? She'll talk shit to you, but then be your nurse anyway. Best of both worlds.
That's what you need. If she's too eager to please, then that's when you got to be suspicious. Why is my coffee tasting like batteries all of a sudden? And why is the ground shaking and my body spinning around and now I'm dead?
I need somebody with a healthy disdain of me and a sense of humor about it. So, if you're just all peachy keen all the time, I'm going to assume you're fake as fuck and something's wrong behind the scenes.
Like, listen, I've been living with me for my entire life and it ain't that good.
Yeah,
you know?
Nobody can appreciate me that much. In this chapter, we also get a very epic scene of all 6 of these warlords around a table, conveniently all on the same side so that we could see their faces. Nobody wants to sit on the other side of the table. What'd you think of seeing these 6 powerhouses all sharing a meal, Eggy? Anything stick out to you?
I guess I didn't know that Doflamingo was that. I mean, he is sitting on top of the chair.
He's sitting on his fucking chair like a pretentious, like fucking this. Should I do the podcast like this now? I'm the Dofi.
Hey, it'd be a good workout. But yeah, even so, like his size compared to, like, we know Mihawk is about like the same size as like the Straw Hats. We know Blackbeard is big enough to sit down and block an entire street. So, and maybe it could also be perhaps maybe his jacket is doing some of the volumizing there too. But I guess
he's a kind of big guy.
Yeah, I felt like we haven't seen so much of him throughout the story. He's been here and there, little inclinations here or there, but to kind of get this scale of him, that was maybe the first thing that. But then also, Moria being in good enough shape to be right there and not being reprimanded at all was also an interesting development for me. But I guess it all made sense because immediately after the panel that displays them, it says one thing they all understood is that there's no way they could ever fight alongside one another. So they might be warlords, but they're definitely not wanting to be team warlord.
It might be a little rocky between them if they have to actually go to war with Whitebeard. Little Roxy. Yeah. Aggie, that brings us to the end of the Amazon Lily arc. So we need to put it on our tier list. Do you have any summarizing thoughts about the arc? From when Luffy got his mushroom touched all the way to here.
Well, I mean, the first really true as far as it's written, excuse me, romance, I guess, completely unrequited on Luffy's behalf. But listen, women, they love the bad boys. When you're the man who's going to be king of the pirates, you got this big bounty that definitely would put you in the worst hells of Impel Down. You're punching celestial dragons, you're blowing up world government flags, you're getting away, you're not giving a single flying heck. This seems like a real lady killer right there, but obviously it's not anywhere where he's even thinking about it, which women, I think they like that even more. You're not trying to
They only
go
want
Sanji
what they
mode.
can't have.
That's right. So I think that's a big thing to note, even if it's never any like big part of the story, because Luffy's out here doing his own thing. I enjoyed it. I liked the whole premise of the island. I liked the premise of their culture, and there being the Nabo Hancock being one of the warlords. It was just a little different, I think, from the warlords we've seen thus far. Kind of handled differently, a little different culture, a little different premise. I enjoyed all that. Yeah, it was, overall though, I'd probably say kind of middle of the road for me, just on the fact that it is solo Luffy. As much as I love that, we're missing some of those dynamics from having the whole crew there. We get, a little bit of the Celestial Dragon backstory with the hoof of the dragon and everything. That's all very interesting too. But as fine as it is, it really, I feel like more than not at this time, just kind of sets a pivot from the archipelago to Impel Down, which we already had inclinations of the need to travel to Impel Down before anything to do with Amazon Lily, because we had that scene where the announcement of Ace's execution is falling and everybody's reading it from the newsbird or whatever. So that was already planted for us. We needed a way to get there, and this was a very serviceable and entertaining enough way to get there. But yeah, I kind of feel like, I wouldn't have any problem kind of putting it in a mid to maybe lower mid sort of ranking.
So where does it land then, Eggy? Do you have your list pulled up in front of you so you know where to place it between?
Oh, no, I don't. But it's real close. What is this? Please watch an ad for weapons to get weapons Discord flare. It was a good movie, but I ain't trying to do that. There we go. Okay. Because I'm still going off of the Biggs guest appearance when you screenshotted it for that.
You're thinking probably, B tier? Sounds like what you're leaning towards.
Yeah, because it was fine. I would say I will put this, I want to give it, just considering the context of it, this is why I'm going to give it a little bit stronger. I think I'm going to put this above Long Ring, Long Island in my ranking.
Okay.
Because I think Long Ring at Long Island in and of itself was probably contained more entertainment for me. But I think the weight here surrounding Amazon Lily and everything there, it just tips the scales a little bit more for me in order to say I feel like this was a more important and overall more interesting material.
And you've got it below Syrup Village. You liked Usopp's intro better than this.
Yes, I will stand by that.
I'm also going to go B tier, and I'll go below Little Garden, above Whiskey Peak. I like that it breaks the mold of One Piece, and we're so used to the formula, and now that it's been broken, anything can happen. Is this the absolute most exciting way to start off the anything can happen at Solo Luffy? No, but we go to Impel Down immediately after, which is the best possible thing that could happen. So this is a vital segue to the absolute best stuff in the story. And
it'd be hard for me to say, considering everything we've gone through so far with the Straw Hat crew. I feel like the preceding events on the archipelago to here to Impel Down, it was very well transitioned, I feel like. Probably about as best as it could be. And then we also have it with the other Straw Hat members being sent to locations that have some appeal to them, at least for the most part. At least it appeals to their character. Even
Robin
if it's
loves being a slave. My sex slave, goddammit. One day.
She got that tough resilience, that durability. You know, she went through the massacre at O'Hara. She went through being captured and walked down the gates of justice and everything like that, and still coming off the other side. Okay, so I feel like she is the best equipped for that circumstance, even if it's not great. So that's kind of also what I feel like. Maybe these are not real vacations, but you're still alive, and you may be able to something in your environment you were sent to. You can get something from that, even if it's not beautiful. So that's what I think.
Do you have any theories on this bridge that has been built by slaves for over 700 years, meant to connect the islands? And I think we get the name of it. Was it Tequila Wolf? Is it named after tequila? That might be a spoiler that doesn't matter, but still. What do you think of this bridge? Why are they spending centuries building a bridge? Well,
if it is a part of this new era, like after like the new history of the world or whatever, like because there was that piece of the world history that's missing, and all of a sudden the elders, whatever, came together, the rulers, and as soon as all these rulers decide they want to start a new world, so what in our order of the new world, what should we first do? Let's find a way to connect every single land together. Maybe what does it matter if the entire world is just one hub of there's not anything distinct anymore. We're just this is going to be easier for us to rule, possibly more financially beneficial.
The world government flag is basically just a bunch of islands connected by bridges, right?
Yeah, it's I believe so. Yeah.
They want world homogeny. Yeah, no more unique cultures. Ultimate melting pot to the ultimate degree.
When the railroads began to exist in the United States of America, it was all slave labor and from Asian immigrants and all types of people. And once these railroads were able to just cross the entire country in a matter of hours or days, then we had the Industrial Revolution, and I've heard that could have possibly been a disaster for the human race, but that's just what I've heard in certain places, some different memes I've saw on Facebook and things like that. So,
Eggy, we're over an hour in, and we're just now getting to Impel Down in the Impel Down Welcome to podcast. So, man, I mean, I don't want to speed through it because it is my favorite, but hopefully we already covered a good chunk of it with all of our favorite characters returning. But
I'd like to think so, because I feel like once we're in Impel Down, the heat is on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's dive on in. I want to hear all of your thoughts, Eggy.
Well, I think perhaps the Navy ship we mentioned. That Boa Hancock, she's stowing away Luffy in her quarters. He's very hungry. She's shipping in a bunch of giant piles of meat and just
eating all of the Marines' food and telling them to starve, and they'll do it because she's hot.
Yes, exactly. So she's providing this good cover for him. She's supposed to be really everybody that comes into Impel Down is supposed to be so extremely frisk. They're under constant surveillance. And all the men kind of immediately are sort of leaning towards giving Hancock some leniency just because of her looks, but she's got to get checked out by a female officer. And
waifu alert, Domino? Am I wrong?
She might be the hottest chick that I've seen in this story so far.
Yeah,
I like a woman in uniform, and she's looking right in every type of way that is good for me.
Basically, all the female jailers are in fetish gear. It's crazy.
And we have to take note of this. Domino, she's and the surveillance camera both are impacted by the love loafers. Yeah. So the only way that could be is that they were low key saying yo, Hancock's hot as fuck.
Well, we've seen Hancock freeze her women before. Anybody who finds her attractive, I guess. Does that mean every woman is low-key bisexual? I can't blame them. who can deny the hotness of a woman other than me when she kicks a cat?
That's very true. And, Hancock, she's even above she's like in the top percentages. So it probably, if I had to say like one point of the volume, like where I kind of have to give it a little bit of a side eye, she petrifies the surveillance unit because it is a snail, so it's alive. It could be petrified.
Yeah, it's horny as fuck.
Luffy's able to get out and start doing his going down into Impel Down. He's able to start his invasion, his break-in. But then, she just unpetrifies the camera and also Domino. And Domino's like, I feel like I just forgot something for a second there. The control room could see that they lose the feed for like a minute, and then it comes back, and then it's like, oh well, okay. I guess it was just who knows what that was, LOL. I think perhaps it doesn't happen yet in the volume, but perhaps it could be put 2 and 2 together yet at some point that, oh hey, Luffy just happened to exist at the exact same time that this went down. But I guess we'll see that when it gets there.
You're worried that Hancock will be exposed.
Well,
because I wouldn't worry about that, because as we've seen, anybody will forgive her for anything. So
that's true.
And they're trying to hunt down Luffy anyway, so it is what it is.
And speaking of people getting hunted down, Luffy, he gets in, he starts surveying around, trying to figure out the layout. The prisoners are seeing him, they're hooting and hollering. But before he can get too far, well, there has already been, as he is beginning his entrance into Impel Down, there's already been an escapee, that being our good friend, my Mr. Top of Mind himself, Mr. Buggy the Clown.
Yeah, we did talk about the cruelty of Buggy's crew. They wasted money on an eternal pose so that they could go to Impel Down and save Buggy, but then it's like so surrounded by these warships now because of Ace that they just abandoned him. They say, bye, Captain. I hope your execution isn't too painful. So, like, even if Buggy and Luffy get out of here alive, what is for Buggy to do? Does he return to the crew that abandoned him and left him for dead? Does he join the Straw Hats, like briefly in season 1 of the live action? Eggy, was that a hint about Buggy for Straw Hat? Could it be Mr. 2 for Straw Hat when they get out of here?
Well, I guess what would have to come to mind for me, the only possibility that really bubbles up that I think of is if Whitebeard, we already have at this point the inclination he's snuffed out the scout ships. It's very likely that he's making an advance on Impel Down. Well, I mean, Buggy was he was a Whitebeard man before, right? Or was that the
Gold Roger, the rival to Whitebeard? He might be an enemy.
Oh shit. Okay, a slight error there on my part.
But is this an Eggy prediction that Whitebeard will arrive in Impel Down?
Well, he's certainly advancing, I would imagine. I don't know, like, if he's got to stop to get there beforehand, but somewhere that he needs to get to. But I think, war is declared. The enemy generals are all congregating at Impel Down. Ace is there. He doesn't want Ace to get executed, so I think it makes sense. And yeah, I mean, I guess, now that I think about that, I was making an error there. Maybe it would be more likely for Buggy to link up with Luffy for at least the Grand Escape anyway. They can kind of sort everything else out later, but...
Well, throughout this volume, he proves he has no loyalty and wants to abandon Luffy, and even by the end, him and Mr. 3, I think, properly do. I don't remember exactly where everybody... they're all back together by the end of this, aren't they?
Yeah, he tells Luffy that he's going to help guide him to where he needs to be in exchange for the bracelet that Nami gave to Luffy, which I guess is actually like a treasure guide of sorts.
Yeah, I believe a guide to Captain John's treasure that we keep seeing Buggy and crew looking for. And I guess Captain John was one of the zombies at Thriller Bark, and that's why his treasure marker would be in, Perona's treasure room. And, very lucky for Buggy that Luffy is a generous, trustworthy, trusting guy and just hands it over to him when Buggy's about to attack. I loved that. I think it's very intentional and meaningful when people with extremely different powers are shown in the exact same pose, using their powers like identically. And we have Luffy and Buggy. Luffy's doing his standard Gum Gum Punch, and Buggy's just shooting his fist, and it looks identical just without the arm. So what is this parallel of Luffy and Buggy? They got similar names. He was Luffy's original pirate rival in this story. What are we to make of this? Are they two sides of the same coin somehow?
Well, I would say, Buggy, he's been chasing his passion, his goals. We saw him in the Skull Island looking for treasure. He's been out there trying to get that loot, trying to make a better way. He linked up with Hot Alvida, who's now abandoned him.
That bitch abandoned him. She became the new captain of the Buggy Pirates, I guess.
He's not Captain Morgan just getting stuck out on a lifeboat somewhere floating around in circles. He's not Kuro, whoever. Some of these people are like Don Krieg. We don't know whether these guys ever going to come back or whatever. They're just like off. They got beat. They lost. They took this defeat and they said it's over. Brutal black pill. I'm never going to be a pirate again. I'm going to go die somewhere. But Buggy, he's despite all odds, he's still been doing his thing, and so is Luffy. And Luffy's probably had more overall successes. But hey, Buggy. I mean, he got far enough and built up enough of a bounty to get put in Impel down at a level below 1. So. He was out here doing his thing, getting a reputation all the same. Probably made it to the Grand Line, yeah.
It's a great lesson that no matter how much you fail, just keep trying towards your goals. And Buggy and Luffy, we've seen them both lose many times now. They fight again. Kuro and Krieg, they're out of the story. They gave up on their ambition because they had one bad day. Get over it, pussies. That's what I say. We all have bad days, bad months. Some of us have bad decades, but you can't give up. Even if you're in level 4 of Impel down, being tortured, they don't know you have that devil fruit power. It's time to escape. And where were these powers in Orange Town, Eggy? Fucking, if Buggy's feet are on the ground, the rest of him can fly around like fucking Superman, and he can carry a giant axe and Luffy on his back while doing it. This shit defies gravity and physics in a whole new way. Extremely epic, first of all, when they're flying through the Crimson Hell. Why was he not flying around like Superman to fight Luffy in Chapter 12?
Has to be. We have to acknowledge now, if we haven't yet, Devil Fruit is powers. You get like like your Pokemon. You start off with like Bubble Beam, then you get up to Hydro Pump. You know what I'm saying? Like you start off here, but you keep training, you keep progressing. You're gaining experience. You're powering up. And right now, to draw a parallel to something I mentioned earlier, we were talking about memberships and playing Ultimate Adventure. It's a One Piece game for the Nintendo Wii. And it's hard to play a Wiimote game without a Wiimote, but I'm doing it. I'm doing a lot of Gum Gum Punch.
Do you need one? You can borrow my... I have like 2 Wiis. You could have a Wii. People send me Wiis in the mail all the time, and I don't need them.
If you have a spare one, actually, I definitely
literally, yes. One.
I could do a flash boot type of deal one and have... then I could become a professional Mario Kart player too. Woo!
Yeah. I got it all.
Good to know. Note that. But so I'm using in that game with like the possibly more limited range of attacks that don't use motion controls. Gum Gum Whip, Gum Gum Punch, Gum Gum Balloon, and they do power up from using them. So I feel like it's established. If we didn't know before, I think we do now. Your your Devil Fruit powers can become stronger from proper discipline and usage and training.
Yeah, and we've seen Luffy's recovery time from Gear 3 get shorter and shorter, where I think when he did it with Law and Kid there, he was only tiny for maybe 10 seconds. So maybe he'll get to the point where there's no recovery time at all, and he can just spam all his best attacks.
And he uses it in this volume during the Impel Down siege here that, I think he's small for a panel. Mm-hmm. So... I want to just note something here before we continue on here. The topic of technology as it exists in this universe. We've seen the transponder snails. I feel like that's a great allegory for sound and radio and phones and all that. But we see here all the same with these surveillance snails. There's a panel of the guards at a guard console, which has numerous obvious television screens. So I think that might be the first instance of such a technology that we've ever been made aware of. So just something to note in chapter 527.
Yeah, does only the government have access to this technology, maybe?
Could be part of, yeah. I think if there would be one place to have it, this should probably be it. The most heavily surveilled, impregnable facility in the world. Or so they thought. Dun, dun, dun.
We gave our thoughts on the very sexy women who work at the prison, but nothing about Hannibal and my man, Mr. Diarrhea himself, Magellan. Yes, what are your thoughts on these two?
Well, the poison fruit seems like a terrible... I don't know if there's been a devil fruit that I've been aware of so far. We do get to see him use it offensively, and it seems maybe it's like a high-risk, high-reward kind of fruit on that note, that he could just like spew at you and you just die in a horrible suffering.
The implication from the level 6 prisoner who gets attacked by the venom Hydra is if I don't get the antidote, I'm dead. So I don't know if too many devil fruit powers just kill you if you get hit by one attack.
Yep, just to have to shit your guts out 12 plus hours every single day of your life.
But now, here's the thing. This is, I think, a misnomer or a misunderstanding. I used to think that as well, that he has diarrhea because he ate this fruit and that it like poisons all the food he eats. Not the case. He says specifically he eats poison on purpose because it tastes good, because he had the fruit. So he's giving himself diarrhea because he, much like me, refuses to stop eating chicken wings and pizza and chicken nuggets. And that he's the most literally me antagonist. I won't even call him a villain because he's keeping fucking prisoners in line. Sure, he's torturing and killing them, but hey, somebody's doing the raping and they need punished. So Magellan giving himself horrible diarrhea 12 hours a day because of his diet that he chooses to eat and doesn't need to. I really like that. And Hannibal, he's perfectly justified trying to undermine and usurp his boss, who is shitting and sleeping and only working 4 hours a day. Of course he shouldn't be warden.
Yeah, I also, Hannibal, he's got like this just very traditional like demon appearance, but also at the same time he's got like a pharaoh thing going on. Mm-hmm. He definitely seems like just the perfect amalgamation of character traits that you would imagine to be in this position that he's in the prison here. And Magellan, the perfect sort of bureaucrat that he just intentionally does something completely avoidable that keeps him from doing as much work as he would necessarily need to do because it provides him something that he enjoys. And then those traits combined with the seeming incompetence, they just never have been challenged, I suppose, in all these years to where they would need to exhibit the absolute power that they were meant to have when they got this position. They've kind of got a little bit soft and a little bit comfortable just thinking, oh yeah, these blue rogies or blue gories and the different beasts, the
Minotaur,
boiling immortal hell, all of this is all together to provide so many different measures of security. Yeah, that they've been able to just take it too easy, and that's what happens when you get complacent and lax.
Well, evidently, they're justified with their complacency because we're told only Shiki, the flying pirate, has escaped from Impel Down. So this is pretty unprecedented territory here. Maybe these pirates just couldn't deal with the Minotaurs and the heat and all that. We find out at the end of this volume, our foursome, Mr. 2, 3, Luffy, and Buggy, are about to encounter on level 4 a waiting Magellan. Can these four defeat the poison diarrhea man in a fight?
Well, I think they, as I recall, they say level 4, where Ace and Jinbei are being held. These are, for the worst of the worst, the 100 million plus berry bounty pirates who have been captured.
That might be on level 5, because Mr. 2, I believe, tells Luffy there's also somebody on level 5 that he wants to meet.
So, but with that being said, yeah, the worst, most heinous criminals imaginable are still magnitudes, or at least the barrier of entry for this amount of punishment that you would need to reach to be, for this to be the punishment you would receive. So magnitudes less than what Luffy has sort of done for himself as far as infamy and notoriety on behalf of the world government. So I think I don't know if after Buggy and Luffy meet on the first floor, they're like, oh, how could anybody that would be a level 1 offender, they couldn't defeat the Blue Gories. So, and how they're able to defeat with not total ease, especially once they get the Sea Prism Net and the Sphinx and everything, that all gets a little dicey. It's really circumstantial that they're able to make the escape that they can, because the Sphinx, from the way that I read it, the net reminded him of reminded the beast of like ramen noodles, so he launched himself at the net because he was so fixated on noodles.
Was that when they got captured in the net and the Sphinx was also in the net, and when he woke up, I guess he was strong enough to just burst it open?
Oh yeah, maybe that might have been where I was misreading it, because the Sphinx is the one who burst the net, but I guess I did not catch the fact that the Sphinx was in the net with them as well.
Yeah, I believe so. But back to the question, can these 4 defeat Magellan here? In level 4, was that just the Inferno Hell? Like, it's extremely, like, there's molten lava pretty much, and the heat rises up to level 3, and these people are just in a horrible drought. And I really appreciate that in this level 3, where everybody is just sitting in 5,000 degree heat and they don't get any food, it's the starvation hell. Mr. 2 has a cheery attitude. He's singing and dancing in his cell, and he's keeping the morale of everybody with him up. What a fabulous character, and I reserve the word fabulous for him specifically. In literal starvation hell, in Dante's fucking Inferno, this dude is singing and dancing. I love him.
Yeah, it really makes me think also, and I did just double check, the Sphinx is in the net as well, so that I'm clarified on that myself as well. The fact that level 4 is seen, or is presented as so hot with the boiling lava and everything like that it could turn the floor above it into like this horrible, basically oven, more or less. Like, I think it's referred to as such, like, touching certain parts of the environment around there, like, could just burn you just like that. And if it's that hot down beneath it, in order to transmit that much heat, that seems to me like that could even just be such an environmental hazard in and of itself. Because the first thing when you ask the question about can they defeat Magellan, I'm thinking, okay, like the power levels of the beasts and everything, and of the Blue Gories and all this, seem easy enough to handle, to where I would think that Magellan and whoever's with him, maybe their base power is not the most overwhelming in comparison to Luffy and his cohorts. But with those environmental factors putting into play there, I think that could add such an additional stress to them that would shift the playing field to be more advantageous for the people who work in the facility. But then I also have to think to myself, how are they going to handle it? Are they going to have some sort of protective measure for themselves to be able to fight in this terrible heat? Maybe they'll be able to switch it off or something. I don't know. But
so you're thinking a Mario versus Bowser scenario where they have to like jump over him and hit the axe so that he falls in the lava, like not an actual defeat, but just knock his ass into the lava. Because he's the toxic venom man, and Luffy and Mr. 2, they just punch and kick people. So if one touch of this guy is enough to kill you, I don't know how you fight him.
Yeah, it's that's a good point. Because, we have Mr. 3, but he's already pretty much melting as it is, even before getting to level 4.
Yeah, he's fucked here.
You could suppose, perhaps, so there could be some sort of wax resistance. Buggy could, like, chop maybe out of the way of some of the venom blasts or something.
Yeah, that is inconvenient that the wax is melting. If they were on any other level, maybe that would work.
Yeah. Maybe Mr. 3 could do some sort of wax thing, and then maybe Mr. Bonclay could like copy his wax form or something, and maybe it would somehow transmute poison-resistant properties on, from...
If it can copy Nami's titties, maybe it can copy those properties. Who knows? I like the way you're thinking, Eggy. We gotta combine all of these unique powers to defeat Dr. Toxic Venom.
Oh, yeah, I would say very much so. Or, yeah, it could be maybe he could just get like a wax glove or something, like let Mr. 3 melt on him a little bit. Then he could quick smack him with a wax smack, not get poisoned, but then also be able to then copy Magellan's form, and then maybe that could come into play here somehow as well. So just a couple ideas, a couple possibilities.
I think with that, we have satisfyingly covered most of the major shit. So anything else from this volume sticking out before we get some final predictions, Eggy?
Well, I just want to give a honorable mention to Miss Sadie. We talked about Domino and the security guard that does the frisking, but bow chicka wow wow, another beautiful woman. I mean, the prisoners. That's right. The prisoners. You hear about this in the normal prison system that they'd be whistling at the female prison guards all day. So this might be the most horrible, extremely miserable prison that's ever existed in the history of the world. But at the same time, it could be worse. They could have not super hot demon chicks walking around giving a show. So just wanted to give her due acknowledgement.
Is there a level to the prison that you would prefer to live in? We've got Crimson Hell, where the grass is made out of razor blades and everything is sharp as fuck. And we can't fly like Buggy, so that would probably be horribly painful. Starve to death in the oven. What was level 1? Just hang out? That might not be so bad.
Gories. Yeah, it's like the Blue Gory Patrol on level 1.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that.
The Terrible Beasts on 2 with the Sphinx, then 3 as like all melting, but then they also had the Minotaur on level 3, who is a very resilient and
very fast. Yeah, he was outspeeding Luffy a little bit.
And I feel like them fighting the Minotaur, like it's Luffy and Mr. 2, like shoot him up through the wall, and it you must re-enter on like the upper level or something. But
he like sends them flying to Mr. 2 or to Buggy and Mr. 3. So then like all 4 of them are back together again. That was good. Mm-hmm. And that's when Buggy shows off his new Muggy Ball to blow up the Minotaur, and then I think they all fall to level 4 at that point.
That's right. Well, they're I think the final panel, they have not reached level 4 yet. I don't think they might. Maybe they did get an opening in the floor or something, but
they have to like jump into the thing on purpose, is what was explained to Luffy. That's right.
And avoid the lava, just like
in good luck. Yeah, a leap of faith. Meanwhile, Hancock did tell Ace, "Your brother's here," and I think the final panel is Ace saying, "Luffy, don't come." So Luffy was right. Ace does not want to be saved. He wants his own adventures. But he was in this volume or the previous one. It's probably this one. He's having a conversation with Garp, and he basically tells Garp, "Kill me right now to prevent the war." And Garp says, "It's too late for that, my grandson. Whitebeard, whether you're dead or alive, he's doing this now. They went too far." And Ace is like weeping. So Ace seems suicidal. He seems like he's done with it. He doesn't even want to be fought for, and he doesn't want Luffy to save him. What do you make of this? What conflict do you imagine will happen in the next volume?
Well, it gives a little pause for concern for me because, as he mentions, he said, like, the only father that I've ever recognized is Whitebeard. Like, that's my, screw Garp and screw Dragon, and the only father I know is Whitebeard. That's, so if he, on the premise that Whitebeard is coming just to save him, or even that Luffy is now also, I guess it's sort of like an idea that he thinks so highly of Whitebeard that he would rather not be the catalyst that causes him to have to war, because not only will it put Whitebeard and who is on his crew at risk as they go against the world government, and it's going to cause such a disruption to the whole geopolitics as well, fighting the warlords and everything. But just in the same way that Jinbei, I think, expressed, those who have benefited from Whitebeard and what he has brought to the seas with his control that he has. He's done good for a lot of people, or at least, what we've heard. There's definitely been some beneficiaries from that, and I would say Ace would fall into that category. And so for all of that to be jeopardized just on account of Ace's life, maybe he would rather just be a willing sacrifice in that way, or at least whatever he can do to try and defend himself or utilize just what he's got available to get out of the situation without tying other people into it. It would be his utmost desire as far as where the situation concludes.
And I think that this conflict was excellently set up by Oda with Nico Robin wanting to die, and Luffy's like, oh, okay, well, come back with me and you say it to my face when we're back on the ship. How about that? So you can just imagine Ace being like, get the fuck out of here, Luffy. I deserve this execution. And Luffy like having to rescue an unwilling, hostage or whatever. Is that what we're going to be reading next week, Eggy?
Well, I like Ace, and I want him to not be killed. And so optimally, his rescue is what I'd like to see. And I just wanted to make one quick point, too, with as far as the Luffy and his Luffy Buggy and Mr. 2 and Mr. 3 using their abilities together in order to defeat Magellan or to help rescue Ace. I think that all of them, they're doing like combo attacks almost against the Minotaur on the third floor, to where they're like setting up, and it's like, I think in the fighting game, it's like a unity attack or something, where they kind of like, build off each other. We see this exhibited in order to defeat the Minotaur. So I think, it's that has been unlocked in their combat abilities. The blueprint's open now, the door's open for more of that, and I think that's going to help them a lot in being able to make this a successful extraction of Port Ghazdi. Ace, I need it.
Last week you had the prediction that all of the Straw Hats would also make their way to Impel Down to help Luffy. Did you believe it for even one nanosecond when we see Zoro's face yelling, "Hey Luffy, I'm here"? Or do you even remember that happening?
Yeah, that's Mr. 2 that does that, right?
Yeah. And we were introduced to Mr. 2 being here already, so it's no shock to us.
It gave me pause. Yeah, I mean, like,
there he is.
Because we seen him. He was in healing. I feel like just because him being on Gloom Island with Perona, like that she would maybe have a little extra something that she could utilize to make that happen that we wouldn't know about. Maybe she could like float through the wall with him or something on some ghost shit. I don't know, but
more Danny Phantom goodness. If only. But nope, it was Mr. 2, just surprising his good friend Luffy.
That's right.
Anything else, Eggy? I think we covered this volume pretty good.
Well, Whitebeard approaches. Dun 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 dun. No.
You think Luffy's gonna go face to face with the beard coming up soon?
It's kind of on his side right now, so who knows? Maybe.
I guess more of a mustache, really. It's not a good name in English.
Well, there's an idea too. Like we bust out Ace, we get him to, to common ground. Maybe Whitebeard is advancing. Maybe we can reconnect Ace and Whitebeard. Like, oh, no, you didn't even have to worry because this Straw Hat, and then White could be like, oh wow, I've been hearing about this Straw Hat, and hey, isn't that my old enemy Buggy? Well, you know what? I guess it was so long ago now that if you're okay with the Straw Hats or whatever, maybe there's going to be some new alliances formed. Obviously Luffy's no friend of the world government as it is.
With all those battleships outside, is the arrival of Whitebeard the only conceivable way Luffy can escape this situation? Like, how are they supposed to get away from Impel Down? He doesn't have an escape ship. They're in the Calm Belt, surrounded by battleships.
Yeah, they're probably locking down any coming and going at this point. But I could also say, hey, let Mr. 2 go go tap on Boa Hancock real quick, spawn up her same cape, and fit everybody into there?
Or become Magellan. I think I want to quit my job, guys. Here, Hannibal, you could be the new warden. I'm gonna leave.
Mr. 3 melt down into like a puddle of wax, or like a little wax ball or something. Luffy keeps it under the, like next to him, under Hancock's cape. We'll just have Buggy's feet under there, and he can like fly up overhead, and they won't look up and see him. You know?
We've seen Mr. 3 do crazy shit. He made that giant candelabra that was turning people into wax from the inside out and shit. He defeated Zoro in combat, technically. And Zoro, he's a top tier guy, so... can he just make this candelabra? No, I guess he can't because it'll melt in level 4. But still, on other floors, why can't he pull that bad boy out? Throw the Minotaur on there, turn him into some wax.
It could be something to, like, maybe, you know, they're all gathering down there, so they've got all their forces down at this level. If they're able to do anything to get Ace and start moving upward again to where his abilities will be able to have more of a function, then maybe there could be like maybe he'll be up on floor 2, like blocking off something with a wax barrier or something like that. Who knows? And
we've seen Ace's his little ship thing. He uses his flame powers to power the motor, and he can zoom around real fast. Maybe can a wax ship be generated, and then Ace is like the back of it to push it? Something. There's got to be a way they can get out of here, but we'll find out hopefully in the next month or so, because there's plenty more Impel down to go. My favorite arc, Eggy, how's it hitting you so far?
Well, I mean, as far as I was concerned, yeah, maybe we just have like 2 volumes left. Like, boom, you know, they get down there, boom, pop them up, boom, Whitebeard shows up, and boom, you know, let's, maybe he's going to give us a ship to go meet back up with the other rest of the Straw Hats or something. But I could definitely see the next volume also just being like all entirely level 4 combat, and also just not even resolving yet and still having things going on down there, because I mean, this is a pretty serious situation. Like, like we are like the weight of the situation is the most that it's ever been. We just got off of declaring war on the world government, punching the Celestial Dragon. Now we're breaking into the world government's ultimate prison, while the biggest war in the entire world is just due to start happening right outside the front, while all the worst of everything is going on. And
all of like the strongest warlords that we barely defeated 1v1. Now 6 of them are coming at the same time to fight. It's like, God damn it. Moria, you bastard, I just fucking beat you. Why are you back? Nah, he's no Don Krieg. You don't give up. Folks, I hope you've been enjoying One Piece with us. Was it this volume? It might be this one, Eggy. This might be our 1-year anniversary of the One Piece Virgin Eggheads Book Club podcast, because I believe episode 1 was published like the first week of September, and I think this is coming out thereabouts. So I don't know how. Maybe we did doubled up too many times that 52 was not our anniversary, and somehow 54 fucking is. But Eggy, 1 year of reading One Piece.
Well, I want to say first off to my captain, you know, for bringing me on this journey. It's really been a life-changing experience, I would say. This series, it seemed like, whatever, it's pirate, some like silly pirate guys floating around on a ship, haha, you know, whatever, cool, yeah, whatever, it's all good. Now, once those pages started flipping, I said, oh my goodness, and we're just in the thick of it right now, you know, like this is, after a year, we're really in the thick of it here, and it's been an incredible life-changing tale that I could have never anticipated just how incredible it was. And
it's like that meme where the guy is mining through all the filth to get to the diamonds, but instead like everything is diamonds, and just no matter where he's at in the page, it gets nothing but diamonds.
It does feel that way every bit, and you know, there's going to be still so much more to enjoy, and it's a beautiful thing. And of course, our measly crew that has stuck with us through these tumultuous trials and different islands and zones and combats and arcs and all different manner of things. You know, we've certainly got dozens of different crew members that have been with us thus far. And to all of you in the measly crew, I say thank you, because obviously you can't be a pirate. You can't be a captain and a vice captain without the crew to make it happen. Right. So big respect, big salute to everybody. All of your roles have had important parts, and even if I say maybe a similar vein in roles sometimes, that's because we are just that bolstered. We are that strong, and
we need redundancies because there's so many people in the community. You can't survive on one bartender, folks. It is what it is. 1 year in, another full year to even get close to catching up, and then probably 8 more years after that of weekly reading. So, Eggy, enjoy having a full volume to read every week while you can, because you've only got 1 more full year of that to go. Unless we keep doing 2 a week, which we've been doing lately. So hopefully we don't speed through it too quick. But what were you saying?
The worst thing about the good times is that they do occasionally end, and so you're absolutely
well, not necessarily, because people have been talking in the comments, hey, what are you guys gonna read weekly after One Piece? And I think we've got about 71 volumes of, or maybe 72 volumes of Naruto to tackle after One Piece. That'll be a good year and change.
Oh, a while back you were talking about reading Hunter x Hunter. Did you?
I dropped it. I made it about 106 chapters, and I keep trying to pick it up again, and I'll read 1 chapter and be like, yeah, this still sucks. But I can announce, I guess 100 minutes in, that I found a new manga I actually am enjoying and going to continue reading. I'm 3 volumes into, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong because I've not heard it pronounced. Free Irin Beyond Journey's End. I think it's the highest rated anime on my anime list, probably undeservingly so, just from people spamming 10s. But the manga, very enjoyable. It's about an elf, I guess, and she's been alive for 1,000 years. And I like stories that have an epic time scale, and you get to see generations of humanity pass, and the various storytelling quirks you can only include in that kind of story. You're Back to the Future kind of stuff where the Twin Pines Mall has that history, and not that there's time travel here as far as I know, but still I like seeing a character come to terms with, oh, this village I visited 80 years ago is completely different, and times be a change, and it's scratching an itch that other media hasn't managed. So I guess I bought into the super popular thing, and it was good.
Well, it's always good when that happens. I can see myself, I don't know, One Piece it's just really so good. I'm doing a little bit of gaming alongside it, but I could definitely see, once I'm caught up, that I could be one of those guys who's the layout of Drum Island. Would it be, what would happen if Drum Island raised 10 degrees and this much snow melted? Would it impact the economy and the tourist capabilities that this island could generate? I could see myself getting into that kind of autism, and I wouldn't mind if I do, because I do like sometimes when I can find some good autism to immerse myself in. And
well, there was an opportunity for autism that we skipped all the way back in chapter 476. The cover story showed a cabbage merchant, and he was selling each cabbage for 150 berry. And that's the only opportunity Oda's given us for a real world conversion of money. So if we look up how much a cabbage is going for today, convert that to 150 berry, you could figure out in real world dollars how much all of these bounties are supposed to be. So that's one option, which would you spend 150 berry on a cabbage, Eggy?
I've had some good cabbage before, but I feel like cabbage is one of the least impressive vegetables. I don't know. It's good for sustenance, but it's not something I would really want to have a strong craving for. It's good. It's like a potato, it's a good staple thing, but yeah, I don't know if I would.
Somebody do the transitive math, find out if 150 berries is 1 cabbage, how much 1 cabbage is in USD, and solve all the bounties for us. Let us know in the comments. That's the autism homework of the week. We've had too many final segments, so I'm just going to say goodbye. One Piece, people.